G'day, Mac Race here from Flying Donkey, and today I want to introduce you to a new series I want to put together around going behind the scenes of implementing a feature with one of our clients. The feature we want to implement here is auto trading with Australian Money Market. Shortly, we'll be joined in our first episode where we're going to talk to Australian Money Market and understand the requirements for the feature. From here, we'll take you behind the scenes as we make the designs and prototypes and work with the client on those and get approval before we move on to the next stage. We're then going to estimate those features and then talk to the developers about how they're going to approach building this feature into Australian Money Market. We'll then take you through the journey of development, testing, and delivery before we see this in their live production website. I think this is going to give you a really key understanding of how we work with clients and how we really bring value to their process overall. Without further ado, let's jump into it and talk to Australian Money Market and get this series going. All right, hi Tim, hi John. So just to introduce everyone, Tim is from Flying Donkey, he's a solution architect, and John Callahan is a business analyst. Welcome, guys. We've also got Vadim, who is the tech lead for Flying Donkey. So in this video, we want to run through the auto trading requirements. So Tim and John, do you want to just run us through what you're looking for and how it's going to work from your side?
So currently we have providers who have term deposits and they'll come to a maturity date and want to do a instruction. So what they do at the moment is that they go to do a reinvestment, and then from there they'll put in their instructions from this. Currently that will reinvest and they'll get a new maturity date. But what we want to add on top of that is something that will put in a standing instruction, so they'll be able to do constant maturity dates with them having to go back in the following maturity date. So what that means is that we'll have to create something where they'll put in different options of where they want to reinvest and what sort of parameters they want around their reinvestment instructions. So that reinvestment will be these options here. So terms of change, where they'll do something like this: reinvestment with principal and interest, reinvestment, principal and redeem interest, these two as well. And then from there, they'll roll with existing institutions or they'll change providers. And generally these advisors, our clients, will go with the highest rates for, say, a certain term. So that could be one of the parameters. So say they want a parameter where they're going the highest term for the 6-month rate. And so that would be something that they'd want as a standing order for however long they want. So say for the next 3 years, they want the highest 6-month rate going at each maturity date. So at the moment, that's Judo Bank, which would be like this, and they click on the rate. So that's what they'd have to do each time. And when they have a lot of clients, they have to go back in every time. But if they could just do a standing order, the idea is that they'd be able to put in the instructions just one time, and then they'd be able to have a peace of mind of not having to constantly do it each maturity date. That's the gist of it.
All right. Yeah, so that's pretty clear. So essentially, what you're wanting to do is at the end of a term or when they're placing that deal, they essentially want to put sort of a set of rules in place that roll over the instruction like next time. So if they've want to invest with the 6-month bank next time, that'll automatically enter their piece, roll over to the next one. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Vadim, from a technical perspective, do you have any questions for like John on this or anything? How do you sort of see this working potentially?
Well, at the moment, the only questions is it possible to reinvest periodically, or it occurs once as a result of user action?
I think it's got to be, has it got to be user action to start with, and then once it's triggered and they've set it up, it'll be at when the term deposit matures?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So I think Vadim, what'll work is there'll have to be some sort of scheduled job that runs through and checks all the term deposits maturing today, for example, and then checks if they've got some sort of rule in place and then rolls over based on that.
Yeah. So those settings will have to be set up completely separate to, I guess, like, I don't know, what currently is there. Hey?
As a sort of, just to give a bit more, I guess, clarity around it is an example of like just a rough idea of what some of the, say, an instruction might be is when the actual advisor goes in to create the initial investment, they then can have the option. The idea would be that they have the option there and then to actually select what they would want to do once it matures. So it might be, as John highlighted, you can select what you want to do with the interest. You can select a term length. You could choose from a range of institutions. So it might be that an advisor only wants to use a select number of banks. So of the 30 that AMM has, they might only want to use 5 of them. So you could sort of select them, or it just picks the best 6-month rate. So you select all of them and you just say pick the best rate for this term. Would be something. So that's like sort of that's how we'd like to sort of see it working. So at that first stage when they go to place, they basically do it, and then they have obviously the option to edit it up until that scheduled task runs on the day of maturity.
Yep. So are you asking for this? This is like a rule set, I guess, here that you're asking for them to set a rule, and you're asking this when they roll over the term deposit the next time. So like when you're asking for this rule to be input.
Well, this rule would be input when they create the term deposit to start with. And then it would just be, and then it would be, so say they place a 6-month term deposit, they then select the rules that they want. So they would be defined rules. So they wouldn't be able to make up their own ones. It'd be a set defined list. And then if whatever those rules were, that would basically then be against that deal. And then that would run on the day of maturity.
And is it going to be like a set rule per term deposit? So it's going to be like you have a term deposit and then it just gets set a rule. If it rolls over, that rule stays with that term deposit. And if you have another term deposit, you have to set a different rule on it, or? Yeah,
correct. I mean, there might need to be instances where, because it's obviously going to run per term deposit. So we might have to take into account, as an example, that you don't want, say one bank has the best 6-month rate for that day, and an account has 4 term deposits maturing on that day. Odds are the advisor won't want all 4 going into that one bank. So that's probably the only consideration there. If we're doing when we do it based on the deal, we just have to probably take that into consideration as well.
Is that going to be outside that government guarantee thing there? So you're saying like if the first one tops up to 250 grand, you then need to check against the government guarantee, or are you saying in general, if they have 4 deals all under 250, that they still might want to not go into all the same bank?
Correct.
Well, that's where, So that's what that's obviously going to be a, I guess, slightly harder to sort of, work out, because it obviously there could be instances where the advisor doesn't care and is just happy for it to go into the all into the same bank because it has the best rate and it sits under that government guarantee. But there might be instances where the advisor goes, oh no, I want to spread it across a few different banks.
Right. So how do you see that working? So if the government guarantee is 1, but if they're under the government guarantee and they want to spread it, how would that work in the rates here? It's like unless for each term deposit, if they say a highest provider and they all roll over on the same day, how do you see that working with these rules here?
Well, that's probably the only, because when we're talking about whether it would be on an account level or term deposit, sort of the feedback that we got from, that AMM got from advisors was that just per deal, they didn't obviously use it as a portfolio. So that's when it was like the decision was made to make it based on the deal. The only sort of, roadblock or slight issue is if it all goes into that one bank. So I don't know whether it's a...
I could make it part of the I will choose my own list of term deposit providers, like some sort of toggle there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this would come up when, say today, an advisor goes in and places 4 term deposits on the one day, or within a certain period of each other. So if you say created a rule for one, I guess it could come up and say, I guess warn the advisor or some sort of rule to say that you can't place with the one that you've already created a rule with. So say you've created a term deposit and then used the rule where you said roll with the best bank. Maybe you can't sort of do it. This is probably the only, issue that we sort of raised.
Do you want to just mark it as an issue then and potentially implement, because this just looks pretty simple to implement at the term deposit level, and then we can implement this as is, and then once we start getting into testing, we can have a look and go, okay, maybe we have to add like an account level rule or something that gets checked, like they don't want X amount of dollars in a certain provider and it's not the 250 grand, it's something else. And so it's just run the rule, all right, I'm about to invest in this thing, check this account-based rule, make sure it's not flagging against that. If it's not, place into this term deposit, If it is flagging against that, then go down to the next provider or whatever that looks like. So I think that's going to be like a second level of potentially account-based rules that guide this portion of the logic.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, I mean, I think if we go ahead based on, like, because these are fairly easy or straightforward rules, and as you say, we can work out, because that's the only sort of issue that we've sort of got, is that if advisors may not want to be an all-in-one product, but yeah, we can obviously work through ways of getting around that, whether it's account-based or even, or we let the advisor do it and we just give them a warning prior to it coming up. So this is obviously just for term deposits as well. So it would obviously only be available. So we'd have to have, it could only be on for a certain product type. There is another rule that AMM are looking to do for call accounts as well, which is a similar sort of process, so against the actual deal. But what they want to do is basically put in a standing deposit. So where on a set day of the month determined by AMM, a transfer will go out of the CMA into the client's call account as well. So again, that would be per deal, and that would just run on a set day. So say on the 15th of the month, there'd be a file that runs, takes all the pending deposits, transactions, and then puts them in there, and it'd just be a standing order every month that then the advisor can either edit the amount or cancel it as well.
Okay, yeah. So this is like, I guess it is auto trading, but it's a separate stick. So we've got one section which is the auto trading on the term deposits, and then the second section which is auto trading, or you're calling it standing orders, on the call accounts. Both would be scheduled anyway, scheduled tasks essentially. We'll try and reuse that architecture. Vadim, did you have any questions on either of these pieces, or technically any problems you can see at the moment? Or
Nope, no questions so far.
All right, so what I think is, Tim, if you can send both these documents through, we'll have a closer look. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Tim or John?
No, I mean, I guess the key point would be that it's going to be a bit of, we will have to create the rules to start with, and then based on obviously testing or feedback from the advisors, we would want to change them. So whatever rule base or whatever we sort of go with, it needs, like AMM need to be able to edit and create those rules. So I guess similar to what we've done on other projects in regards to Confirminator, we need obviously AMM staff to be able to configure that.
Would we want the planner to be able to edit as well?
Not edit. I don't think edit the actual rule, but we would, like AMM would create the rule, and then advisor can select it, and then if they wanted to create it or add a new one or had a comment, then we could, then AMM would do it. So whatever we sort of come up with has to be obviously not hard coded. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they've got to be configurable rules essentially that you can edit.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's all good for me. So I think if you send those documents over, I think the next step for us is we'll probably get Hannah involved, the BA on the project. She can start documenting some things and getting them over to Oleg or Yevon, one of the designers, to start getting some mock-ups and prototypes together for this. And then we'll raise a few tickets on the back of that and move through that process, I think.
Yeah, the only thing to obviously call out as well is that this is obviously in the ASP site, but we would want to obviously build the rules and everything in .NET. Mm-hmm. So that's just the only other thing to consider from a technical point of view. The advisors would be logging in through the ASP site, but we'd have to have obviously some sort of session bridge or something across where it would be obviously built in .NET.
Yeah, well, look, the thing is, the original page you showed us, we can store the rules. It's just mainly going to be the scheduled tasks potentially that will run on the .NET site, right? So that page that you showed us can pretty much be built in ASP. I don't really see any reason for that to be built in .NET. This one, like, do you want that? That's just a modal window, right?
No, yeah. So that can be. It was more the like where we build the actual page where an AMM person can edit and create rules. So that was that sort of part. So I was like, well, if we're building, if some of it's going to be built in .NET, do we build the whole thing in .NET or yeah? Yeah,
no, that's fine. So let's think of that when we pull the requirements together.
Yeah.
But yeah, the scheduled tasks will actually definitely run on the .NET side, and we will have the logging on that side, and the computation, everything will be on that side for actually placing the deals on the actual process.
Yeah.
No questions from me, unless you got any more Vadim or anything else you want to add, guys.
No, that was it.
All right, we'll wrap up there then. If you can just send us over those documents, that'll be good. And then we will touch base when we've got a bit more in the tickets and a bit more from the designers for you guys to have a look at and approve.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good.
I've got a question.
Alrighty.
So what is the requirements for logging of these auto deals? For how long should we store them? How detailed they must be?
Well, we'd obviously have to have a record of the rules being created and up against the deal,
as well as an audit.
Yeah, as well as an audit of it. But you're saying sort of long term, how long do we have to keep the logs for? Like if that would be something that we'd have to look into.
I guess you're asking about the process logs, right, Vadim, when they're calculating what they create?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm asking about actions we are performing for auditing if like everything went fine or there was some errors.
Right,
Yeah,
we'll take that away as a note and we'll try and confirm how long they should be stored for. There should obviously be an audit log, but it's just like the process logs, how long they go for. Obviously, we like a deal transaction audit record made, and that'll just stay there forever. But the actual process log itself, on like how it calculated and what rule it used and things like that. Just on that, I'm assuming there's going to be like notifications that'll go out as well. So like when the deal's placed, and I'm assuming they're placed in pre-trading, so you'll notify the advisor that the deal's been placed. And I'm assuming potentially run in the morning so they can cancel it if there's any issues.
Yeah, we'd probably have to look at it because of the issue with when the rates come in for AMM as well. So I guess when it runs is probably, we just have to think about it, whether we run it prior to having live trading. But yeah, certainly there'd be emails that go out to the advisor and then
just confirming.
Just to confirm it that, yeah, this went through as an auto trading and then you've got till a certain time to cancel.
Got it. Right. So there needs to be some timing considerations here as well.
Yeah, but that would be obviously more around when we set it to run. So it probably doesn't affect the rules or anything like that, more just when it actually runs. And then, but that would fall into the normal process in regards to emails going out to advisors.
Right, we'll try and catch that in all the tickets. Okay, so yeah, two main things, the auto trading on the term deposits and the sort of sweeping on the call accounts. A few questions around logs and timing, but primarily it's around the generation of rules. Process will run on the .NET side. Rules on the .NET side can be edited, and the Classic side will have these screens for the advisors. So yeah, we'll just try and document that up and get some prototypes through for you.
That's great.
Sounds good.
Nothing else? Otherwise we can hang up the call there if there's nothing else you want to run through.
No, that was it.
Vadim?
All good from my side.
Right, thanks guys. Right, so I've just finished an editing there with the client. That's the initial requirements handover from the client. As you can see, plenty of questions still outstanding. So what we're going to do is now take that to our business analyst, and she's going to have a look at this meeting and see any of the questions she can extract out. From there, she'll start documenting tickets and running out specifications and further questions for the client. In episode 2, we'll start talking to Hannah, who's going to be the business analyst on this ticket, and working out how she's going to approach these challenges with the client. From there, we'll then move forward in the process where we'll start talking to our designers, potentially Oleg or Yevon, depending who's available. We'll start mocking up these in a prototype fashion to take back to the client. From there, we'll go through the rest of the process in the following episodes and hopefully show you start to end how a feature like this is taken from requirements that we've just taken from the client to production and used with live clients. If you have any questions on this series or you'd like to see something more like it, please let me know by either contacting us via email or commenting below.